Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and I'm reading Batman issue number 18. Now, this is a very strange comic in the sense that it is unbelievably breathtaking in both the writing and the art. It is outstanding, but there's several inconsistencies inside, and each smaller one lends credence to the idea that there are larger ones also. I'm going to give you some examples in a moment. First off, we start off with Bane on top of the roof, and he's looking at Batman, and he's got his four hostages. That's Nightwing, Commissioner Gordon, Catwoman, and Bronze Tiger. And he says, I'm going to trade you these four for the Psycho Pirate. Do you accept? Batman says no. Now, when push comes to shove, what happens here is Bane loses control because apparently he didn't have a plan B. He only had plan A, where Batman says, okay, and then he just loses it and charges after Batman, jumps across a huge expanse and just proceeds to beat the living hell out of Batman. I mean, to say that Batman had his ass handed to him is nothing. I mean, he literally beats the holy bejesus out of Batman. How he survived, I don't know. I wouldn't have survived that. I don't know who could have possibly survived that. The Mountain on Game of Thrones couldn't have survived that beating. It was intense, and yet Batman is still up. So it seems like Batman's new ability is not to be smarter than the next person, is not to be more powerful than the next person, is not to overcome the next person, but simply to survive one hell of an ass whooping. There's a part where I actually thought that Bane was going to do the whole breaking of the back thing, but instead he throws him into a wall instead, and just insane. Now, when I say that this ass whooping happened is one thing, but each page of Bane beating up Batman was interrupted by 2 pages of backstory comparing Bane with Batman. So they both lost a mother. Now, granted, Bruce lost 2 parents, okay, but Bane lost, a mother who he cared for, and they both kind of go on through life how Bruce Wayne had the very privileged life, and Bane had the very underprivileged life. This was the theme throughout, and it gave a lot of credence to the idea that these 2 characters are actually more opposite each other than anybody else. Bane actually points out at one point, I'm not a joke, meaning the Joker. I'm not a riddle, meaning the Riddler. I'm not the Penguin. I'm not this, that, or whatever. And he just simply goes through a litany of all of Batman's enemies in the past, and he says, I'm not like any of them. And he just proceeds to beat the hell out of them. But we see the comparison between the 2. Now, at the very end, Batman says to Bane, shut up. Just shut up. And that was, kind of cool. It shows the domineering willpower. I don't know why Bane didn't just snap his neck at that point, honestly. And that's the strangest thing for me to say since, find a bigger Batman fan than me. Go ahead, I dare you. But the idea is that I don't know why Bane didn't just reach down and snap his essentially scrawny neck as compared to Bane. Bane's the biggest and scariest I've ever seen him. I've never seen Bane this scary before. I don't know why he didn't just reach down and just snap him in half. I mean, like rip his head right off. That part didn't make any sense to me. He had him dead to rights. There was nothing Batman could do. Yet somehow at the end, it seemed as if maybe he was leading Bane into Arkham Asylum. Why? Because while Bane goes and calls up to his cronies, hey, go ahead and kill my 4 hostages because Batman said no, instead, Catwoman answers and plays a little game. She puts I am Cat on the 3 hostages that she's got, and she explains how it was fun breaking your back in Santa Pre, and it was cool how, you thought that you were a tough guy, and oh yeah, I liked all the blood and flexing you boys were probably doing downstairs, referring to the very one-sided fight that Bane and Batman just had. And there was one scene inside the flashbacks where we show that Batman actually says that his power, while Bane's reliance was always on the Venom, that Batman's reliance was always on his team. I beg to differ. Yes, he's got that, but no, he's never admitted that. The closest we've ever seen him say that was in retrospect to Tim Drake. He's never said, I rely on you guys like all that. I don't recall that ever happening. But it was a very cool little team meeting in hindsight. At the end of the day, I like what they did, but the art didn't match the storytelling quite the same way. The beatings, yes. The flashbacks, for the most part, yes. But there were some parts, and I'm going to give you an example. The idea where I said that I don't know exactly what happened at the end. It looks like Bane does go into Arkham Asylum at the very end, and that maybe Batman was there. Was that lightning that was every so often flashing at the end, lighting up the area so that we could see, yes, it is Arkham Asylum. No, it's not Arkham Asylum. Wait, but the window panes are the same. Wait, I don't get it. I don't get it. Was that actually Batman there? Was it not? I really don't know. I'm a little confused. And though we could just take it for what it is, there were several inconsistencies. Case in point, is this really day 4? When I had to read this comic 3 times to really get an idea, just to tell you that this was, for me, a very confusing comic because I want it to be explained fully. This says at the end it's day 4, but at the end of issue number 17 it said day 2. So what happened? What happened to day 3? Is that how much he was beating on Batman? It took a whole day, a whole 24 hours to beat on him? I don't think so. That's just my opinion. I don't think so. So a little mistake there. On top of that, another scene where young Batman, young Bruce Wayne is saying, "Mother, this is the best soup ever," or something to that effect. "I love this soup. It's very good." But he's clearly sitting there cutting something with a knife. Now, worst soup in the world, frozen or something, if that's the case. So we can see that the art does not match the storytelling in several different aspects. So please explain to me what happened at the end, Mr. Tom King, because I'm curious. I'm curious. I get it. We're just supposed to fall into the idea that he's going into Arkham Asylum by himself. And he's putting himself... That's the thing that kind of kills me about this. Bane is the toughest I've ever seen him, even tougher than Nightfall. But in Nightfall, he was smarter than this. He was a whole lot smarter than to engage Batman on his own terms. Bane does not fight on anyone's terms but his own. That's who Bane is. That's who he's always been. And I'm going to hashtag not my Bane if we're going to have it so that he just simply says, "Oh, okay." Because the way I see it, Catwoman just gave away her position. She says, "I'm in your not so safe house." So why didn't he instead totally punk out Batman and not do what he thought he was going to do, and instead go after Catwoman instead? Okay, got your girl. Now you're going to come here. Or else, oh, got your butler. I know your secrets. I know everything. Why didn't he do that? Instead, no. He decides it looks like he's going to play Batman's game on Batman's terms. I'm not particularly happy with that. All that put into perspective, I'm still going to give this comic an A-. This was very intense. Like I said, I did read it 3 times, not just because I was confused, but because this was a hellacious ride. I loved what I saw in here, but there are some questions that I think are not quite so obvious that need to be asked. Anyway, guys, Professor Bell, Comic Book University, class dismissed.